Do you mind if I grab my cards?
Yeah.
Thank
you.
I am ready. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Diona Reasonover.
And I am Brian Dietzen, and I play Jimmy Palmer on NCIS.
And I play Casey Hines, and this is NCIS Partners Probies.
This is going to be your weekly podcast for everything NCIS, the official NCIS podcast that's going to come out every Tuesday on all your favorite platforms. You're going to get insight on the people that create the show, from the cast members to
the writers, to the directors, to crew members, to department heads, all the people that you've been wanting to ask your burning questions to. We're going to ask them.
And most importantly, we're going to be hearing from the fans, the probies. You guys are going to be sending in questions each and every week.
And in fact, we're going to get started with our first interview right away because we are so excited that we have not one, but two cast members of the original NCIS mothership.
Two cast members. I mean, I don't know how many podcasts out there have this kind of pull, but I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, that's right, because I'm going to interview Brian and Brian is going to interview me.
Wait, we were serious about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Get over there.
Okay, here goes.
Brian.
Diona, we're doing a podcast.
We're doing a podcast.
And I'm the first interview on the podcast.
You are, because
and
you're
I'm
very
the co-host.
special. I'm going to start off with my questions. So let's see. Brian, here's one very simple question. When did you realize during the course of our time at NCIS that we were friends?
Oh, gosh. It was from across a crowded room. No, I think that, when did I realize that we were friends?
Yes.
Okay, when you first were cast and you were replacing Pauly Perrette, who played Abby Shuto. And of course, Pauly's been a close friend of mine for years, still is. And but I looked forward to it and I said, okay, great. Whoever this next person is, I'm sure it's going to be great as well. And truthfully, you and I didn't have much to do together.
No, we did not.
The first season or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, as David McCallum started working less, I started working more. And then you and I started having some stuff together. And I think just having scenes with one another, it made a big difference because I saw how prepared you were. And that to me is like, I really fall in love with that. I fall in love with other actors who come to set prepared and they know their stuff. You brought it. I remember there was an emotional scene that we did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that involved Casey's father. And on this first take, I came home and I told Kelly that night, I said, this new actress on our show, she's something, man. She is something. I'm telling you, take one, you were flooded. And it was beautiful. It broke my heart in the moment. And I was just trying to keep up. It was really great.
No, I have to tell you something. Yeah. I was always trying to keep up with you guys because as soon as I stepped foot on that stage, I knew that I was standing on the shoulders of people who had worked for years. I mean, you started off literally as a one-day guest star and worked your way up to season regular. And honestly, to a lot of people's favorite character.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
It's been a real journey.
I want to talk a little bit about your family because you came here from Colorado. Did you come here alone?
No, I did not. I came out with my fiance at the time. She's no longer my fiance because she's my wife. We met in high school.
Yeah.
We'd gotten engaged prior to me moving out here. And it was, I think it's no coincidence that when I moved out here, I wasn't working.
Right.
And then the second Kel moved out here, I booked a job within like 2 months and we moved up to Canada. Like, I think it was just this energetic, like, I need to put some food on the table. It's not just me I'm looking after here. She changed her life to come out here to be with me.
Yeah.
And we're really fortunate.
Yeah. I mean, and you guys you're a really power couple. Like Patricia and I admire you guys a lot.
Oh, thank you.
To watch your love is very cool.
She's my favorite human.
Did you always know that you kind of wanted to be the kind of actor who had kind of a stationary, like, home base?
I mean, I think that's what I wanted. I don't think I ever thought it would happen.
Really?
Yeah, no. In my BFA program at CU, we were told, like, if you're after the white picket fence and the dog and maybe some kids, this is the wrong profession for you. Get out. Like, you're gonna find no one has that. No one stays in place for 3 years, let alone 5 years, let alone 10 years.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah.
And so now I get to call my acting professor and say, like, it's been 20 years and I'm in the same spot. And I really love it. I really enjoy it. It's not like I'm, it's so. I never yearned for that because I just figured that my life would be hopping around a lot, and it's been the exact opposite.
But playing the same character it's been 20 years, right?
Yeah.
How do you kind of keep it fresh? How do you make it feel like this is still someone that you want to be every day?
I think, well, you and I have talked about this before, that like within any
but not
good,
in front of the camera.
within any good scene, there's something to work past, right?
Yeah.
There's something to get over. There's a conflict of some sort. And I think for me, when I look at it objectively, the long-term conflict in playing the same character over and over again is to find a discovery every single week. And that is the challenge. And then when you don't accept the challenge, you play the same shit over and over again. When you do accept the challenge, you have discovery and growth. And I love the fact that in a long-form storytelling, I can see the progress and growth of my character, not over a matter of weeks, but over years.
Right.
And that it's been really fulfilling.
Yeah.
Early on, it was really me. I was very intimidated. I was very anxious. I had a lot of anxiety about going to work, about NCIS.
And how did that manifest itself?
Well, the way it would manifest itself would just be like a little bit of cold sweat stuff. And I think swallowing my words more than I would have if I was on stage.
Yeah.
And not maybe being my full self in front of the camera at times. There's this one time where in the third or fourth season, Ducky was kidnapped or something, and Jimmy needs to explain these x-rays to Gibbs and Abby and maybe Denozo, and so we're looking at the x-ray board, right? And I'm sitting there, and it's just this little tiny scene. And then Belisario, who's famous for doing this here and there, he sends down new pages. And it's 2 pages of just, I'm talking about how Neolithic man ground down his teeth, and that's how you can tell this and this and that and this. So, playing that against this. It was medical jargon for 2 full pages. And they said purposefully, they held them and they said, we're doing this in 15 minutes. And I was sitting there on my trailer steps looking at it going, oh gosh, I'm about to have a heart attack. I'm like a panic attack.
Yeah.
And Harmon's head pokes out his trailer. Brian, you need help? Weatherly's head pokes out. Dietzen, you good? You want some help? And I was like, okay, thanks guys, thanks. And I was just trying to memorize. And I thought, what is going on? And I go in there and I'm like, just trying to remember the words. And Harmon goes, you know why he's doing this, right? I said, no, I don't. He goes, he's calling your number. He wants to see, what you got here. Because it was early on when I was there.
Yeah.
I said, well, shit. Okay, let's see if we can do this. And Paulie's right next to me. She goes, you got this, buddy. You got this. And then everybody leaves the room because we're shooting through the light, like we're looking at the light board, right?
Right.
And right before they say action, they go, all right, everybody set, speeding, ready? And then Paulie takes my lines out of her pocket and she tapes it to the bottom of the camera matte box. So it's just hanging right there.
Yeah.
So the first take, I don't miss a word because I'm pointing at it. I'm literally reading my lines.
Yeah.
And it came out great.
Yeah.
And then before anybody comes back in, she just takes them out and puts it back in her pocket. And the director came in and is like, damn, that was really good. And that was like that moment at which I was like, I thought, man, a lot of my anxiety started just kind of coming down after that because I remember thinking, these people are like here for me.
Yes. Yes.
These people are a family here, and we want to see each other succeed and we want to be here to support one another. And that was a real sea change for me, like a real like paradigm shift in how I viewed. I prior to that, I felt like I'm going in and it's just dance, right. Go do your thing. And after that, it was like, no, we're all doing this together, man.
Yeah.
Like we're all here to lift each other up. What do you need? and then I'm going to tell you what I need. And that's been a really big shift.
Wow. One, I've never heard that story before, and that's absolutely beautiful. But two, it's so interesting to me because to me, that sounds like the characters almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I know we did this. We talked about this. We wanted to do this podcast to separate ourselves from the characters.
Yes.
But
yes.
telling me how generous they were, how Mark looked out for you, how, Michael stuck his head out like a brother, how Abby, like the mischievous little sister, has your back and then hides it from everybody. It makes me realize how much of a family you guys always were.
And what we still are.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm glad you said that about why we're even doing a podcast about NCIS. It's to celebrate this family. It's to celebrate this group, what we've been through, how we create this stuff. And for you and I also to step out of, as much as we love our lab coats, step out of those lab coats a little bit and have some real heart to hearts,
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Cool. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Your mom's art is in the autopsy room.
Oh, man. So Diona's objective, just for listeners, is to see how much she can make Brian Dietzen cry.
I want him dehydrated.
This is why I have this right here. I'm just going to keep drinking. Yes, my mom's art. So when you watch the show, as you know, above Jimmy's desk, Ducky put these sketches that Jimmy did alongside Bishop. Bishop and Jimmy went out one morning in one episode, and we were drawing stuff, and she's drawing beautiful picturesque landscape, and Jimmy's drawing anatomical drawings of a person's head with some of the skin removed and seeing the muscle groups and the eyes and all that sort of stuff. And that's my mom's drawings from when she was in college. And my mom passed away very suddenly about 10 years ago. And so when this kind of storyline came up and Jen Corbett wrote, one of our wonderful writers wrote this, I pitched that maybe it could be my mom's sketches in there, because I'd love to see her artwork up there. And I showed her and she said, oh man, this is perfect. This is wonderful. And so now right next to the, above the Mallard train, there's a couple of pictures that are drawings, I should say, that are Jimmy Palmer's, but really they're my mom's. So I get to like see my mom's stuff every day when I go to work. It's nice. I
wasn't asking about it to make you cry. I was asking about it because I really love the way that you sort of infused a lot of you into Jimmy Palmer. And I think even at this point, I've got to say, there must be some Jimmy Palmer in you. I mean, I didn't know you beforehand.
Yeah. Well, I think I got to say, Jimmy's I remember very early on, I was reading some story about Vincent D'Onofrio on what was it? Law and Order: Criminal Intent, I think it was.
Oh, yes.
And he was the lead on that, and he said he went crazy. Like he said, he goes, I can't be in that headspace all the time. I'm going nuts because I'm interrogating people and I'm pissed and also I'm in my head a lot. He didn't say I'm going crazy. He said something much more eloquent than that. He's a wonderful actor, but he said I can't stay in that space for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I remember making the very intentional decision of I want to play an optimist. I want to play not just an optimist. I want a guy whose glass is half overflowing. You know what I mean? Like not just half full, like half overflowing. Like he loves what he does, and he's gonna make sure that the people around him feel seen and felt and loved. That's his objective. And I said, if I can inhabit that space, if I can be a George Bailey, I want to do it. And
Jordan Bailey?
George Bailey.
Yeah.
George Bailey, yeah. If you get someone who lives in service of others, and tries to do his best to help.
Yes.
I want to do that, and I suppose I want to do that as Brian a lot as well,
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you're doing that. Seriously, I've watched you stand up for people. I've watched you go to the mat for people. I've watched you do it for me. I mean, I've heard about it. I wasn't there. But no, seriously, I have. And even, I feel like when you're writing the episodes, even though sometimes they're Jimmy-centric episodes, they're not self-serving. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're to serve the script, they're to serve the story, they're to serve the crew, and they're beautiful stories that you're telling.
Thank you. Yeah. I've been really fortunate, and I've had some really wonderful experiences with the writers, and specifically Scott Williams, to help kind of shepherd that stuff. He's incredible.
Yeah. I want to talk about something a little bit personal right quick.
Okay. All right.
I remember one day, it was, I think just around Thanksgiving, one year I was sitting in my kitchen and I got a phone call from you.
Yeah.
And you told me something that it made my heart race. I felt like my heart jumped into my throat, and I grabbed a yellow pad and I said, "What do you need?" Because you called me and you told me that you had had a stroke.
Yeah.
And I think it was the most surprising phone call, one of the most surprising phone calls I've ever received, because as far as I knew, you had no symptoms, no issues before, and were totally fine.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
What happened? I was totally fine till I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago,
a
little over 5 years ago. And it was, that was intense. It was really, really intense. I woke up in the morning. I had breakfast with the kids. Kelly took them to school. And I guess it was 6 years ago now. And then I was doing the dishes. I was doing the dishes. Kelly takes them to school, and I'm doing the dishes, and I started getting dizzy. A little bit like the drunk spins when the room is spinning a little bit. I thought, what the heck? I must be coming down with something. And I was supposed to go work out that day, and I went upstairs, and it got even worse. So that it felt like gravity was on the wall as opposed to on the floor, and I slammed into the wall next to the in the bathroom, and then I just started throwing up all over the place, and it was really brutal. And then so of course I take out my phone and I try to call Kel, and my hands were like little gnarled fists, and I couldn't. It was like a monkey trying to operate a phone. And so the thing that saved me is actually my watch. I said, "Hey Siri, call Kelly," and it did. And then Kelly could hear something was going on with my voice, and she said, "Call the police, call 911." And I said, "No," and she said, "I'll do it if you don't." I said, "Yes." And then she called 911, and then I was taken to the hospital that morning, and I found out I had a dual embolic stroke of my cerebellum. So it was about a couple centimeters of my brain was just gone. And I found out that there was a stroke because they put me into they skipped a CT scan, and I went right into an MRI tube, and I was sitting there and I couldn't formulate words well. I couldn't move my hands, and I laid there in the MRI tube, and I was like, I guess this is it. I guess I'm not going to be an actor anymore. I think I'll probably try writing more. It was it was very non-emotional almost. And it's, I guess I'll try writing more, and I guess this is my life now. And then I was like, or maybe I might die. I might be dead soon. One of my friends, I had a friend who's a music producer, and he'd passed away from a tumor in his brain about 3 months prior to this.
I remember.
And I thought, I guess I'm going to be like him, he left 3 kids behind. I'm going to leave 2. And I'm never going to work on the show again. I'm not, any of that sort of thing. And I remember laying there, and this wonderful thing happened. I felt, I got this vision of me and Kelly, really old, really hunched over old, walking down a sidewalk with our holding hands.
Yeah.
And I felt this rush go through my body, like a warm rush from my head throughout my body. And I started being able to move my hands like this. And then, so I started doing this. I started doing, each finger to my thumb. And then I started doing tongue twisters. Started doing
the theater actor.
Yeah, I was doing stuff from the Mikado, to sit in solemn silence, and they're like, "Please stay still." And I was like, "No, I need to move." And then they wheeled me back to my hospital bed, and Kelly's like, I said, "Hon, I'm back. I'm seriously, I'm back." She goes, "You're back." And she'd been crying, of course, and she'd been on the phone with her mom, and And I was back, and it took me a while to get everything back. I didn't drive for some time. The transpo would come pick me up, but I didn't want to take a big break because I'd read about, whether it's heart attack or stroke and everything. The more time you take away from something, sometimes that can build fear.
Yeah.
For coming back to it. And I said, I don't want that. I want to get right back into it.
Yeah.
And in that time, I will never forget. You said to her much earlier, when did you know we were friends? I knew we were friends long before this, but man, the friendship that I found from you, we lived what? Like 3 minutes from each other?
Truly.
And I'd always known, I can count on you. You're great. But during those times when the chips are down, you drove me to and from work, and you were so militant with me. You just said it would be a long day, and I would be laying there in your passenger seat going, "How? So did you like your scenes today? Did you like?" And she would just go, "Brian, stop talking. Your job is to be quiet and rest right now. You're supposed to rest. Stop it. Rest." And then you and Patricia would come over. You and your wonderful wife would come over, and we would just play games together. You knew that I was supposed to be doing two things. I was supposed to be memorizing a lot of stuff, and I was supposed to be doing hand-eye coordination stuff. And so, let's play games. That's a good brain exercise sort of thing. So, ever the game master, you have so many games. You would always come over and be like, "Let's play Smash Up. Let's play this. Let's play that."
Yes, that's why I did it. Not because I love games. Not because I'm being sponsored by the game companies.
And that is one of those things where could I ask that of any of my cast members? Yes, absolutely. But you're a person that stood up and did it without being asked. And I love you.
I love you. That's when I knew we were friends too. You called me and you told me. You were like, "Hey, Diona, we're friends." And I said, "Yeah." And I was so excited because I wanted to be your friend, but you never know with work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was selfish because I wanted to know that you were okay. I wanted to know that you were okay, and I wanted to hang out with you, and I wanted to be part of that.
Well, your selfishness helped me out a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You owe me money now?
Yeah, I think so. That's how Uber works.
Okay, we're going to switch. But before that, I just want to tell people, when he's talking about he was leaning back in my car, that's not exactly true because Brian is 6 feet tall and I had a 2003 Honda Civic. So it was more him sort of crouching himself.
Kind of my knees are up like this and I was going,
yeah.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I was like, Brian,
where do I
sit.
put my hands? Where do I put my hands?
If you talk, your knee will hit your jaw.
All right, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay. All right, fine.
We're
Love
moving.
you. Bye. Switch.
Love you.
These are for you.
Okay.
Because the first question I was going to ask you, but you can ask me if you want.
All right. I'm going to ask you this question.
You don't have to.
I'm going to. But first I want to say, Diona Reasonover, thank you so much for coming by the show today.
You know what? You wanted to say that joke so bad because you pitched it to me, but you wanted it to do it.
Really appreciate you coming on the show, on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Diona, longtime friend of the pod. We're so excited to have her in studio today.
Friend of the pod. That was even funnier. That was very funny. That was good. You did good.
Oh man. All right. Well, question for you.
Okay.
Let's go back to your beginnings at NCIS.
Oh, yes.
We could go back to the beginnings back in Detroit. We'll explore that another time.
Okay.
Today, if you don't mind, because this is the first episode of NCIS, Partners Probies, I want to stick with NCIS. You get the call that you have an audition for this role. Did you know at the onset that this was going to be like replacing the Abby Shuto character? Did you know that from the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay, you did.
And I turned it down.
You turned it down? Why?
I did. Because I had just had open knee surgery. Oh, I'm going to move this. I had just had open knee surgery 2 days before when I got the audition for the next day. And I was like, I can't walk. I can't leave my house. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So I turned it down.
So
I turned it down and I figured that was going to be it. And it was right before Christmas, and I said, surely they will have cast somebody by then. And then right before Christmas, they were like, hey, do you want to come in? And I was like, no, it's Christmas. And also I couldn't really leave my house.
Right.
And then they called me in January. And I said, I can't believe they haven't cast this. I guess I'll go in, but they definitely aren't going to want me. They probably have an offer out to some like really famous stars, some Zoe Saldana, some Issa Rae, somewhere in between there. They weren't specifically looking for a Black actress. Those were just the first people that I thought of.
Sure.
In fact, I'm not even sure that they were looking for a woman because it was
really?
Yeah, it was K.C.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think that they were leaving it open so that if they found somebody that was great, they would hire whoever was great. They wanted me.
They did.
That was wrong. They wanted me.
You.
Yeah, they wanted me. I was wrong.
Okay, so you get this role.
Yeah.
You get this thing.
Yes.
What is your first day like on NCIS?
Well, I remember the first time I met you.
Okay.
You are actually the only person I really remember meeting.
Really?
Yes, because we met at the table read.
Okay.
Do you remember? Do you remember this?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Okay. You don't remember it the way I remember it. Here's what happened. So when you did the table read for NCIS, it was all the actors, including the guest stars, and a lot of the department heads. So like the head of hair, the head of props, but not the whole crew. And we did it over lunch. So I'd driven up that day. I wasn't filming. I hadn't filmed anything yet. And everybody was introducing themselves, and it was so many people. I mean, how many people do we have in that room? At least 50?
Yeah, about that. And then we go around the table and introduce ourselves, and that's what, 16 or so?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But people were just coming up to me and saying, "Hi, I'm such and such," and obviously I recognized, Mark, and I recognized Wilmer, and you came up to me and you said, "Hi, I'm Brian," and I was like, "Hey, Brian, nice to meet you," and you weren't wearing your costume. You were just wearing regular clothes. And I was like, oh, nice guy. I wonder who that is. And I didn't recognize you because you weren't wearing the Jimmy Palmer glasses.
Yeah.
And I sat down and we had our names in front of us and I couldn't read yours. And you sat down next to me and I was like, somebody's going to be mad when they realize that guy took their seat. He's going around and saying names. And he goes, I'm Brian Dietzen, Jimmy Palmer. And I was like, and I gasped and I felt so dumb. I was like, it's Clark Kent. I'm sitting next to Clark Kent.
The glasses work, huh?
The glasses do work. Will you tell the photo story with you and Pauly? Because it's not just me. It's not just me.
Oh, yeah. There was a couple times, it happened multiple times where Pauly and I remember one time we were at a party out on the Sunset Strip and we got stopped.
Yeah.
On Sunset.
Yeah.
And this person says, Oh my God, Pauly, I am the biggest NCIS fan. I've seen every episode. I'm such a huge fan. And she's like, oh, thanks. It was literally just me and her. And I think maybe her boyfriend at the time. And it's like, can I get a picture? And she goes, sure, yeah. And the person gives me their camera. And I was like, all right. And then I'm about, right, smile. And then and it happened twice. So on the second time, Pauly goes, just kind of gives me a nod and then waits. And then right, I go, ready? 3, 2, 1. And then she goes, that's Jimmy Palmer taking our picture. And then so I got the perfect shot of the woman going, huh? Like that. Like, but the glasses work.
They do.
They say in DC, like, how do people not recognize, that they're the same guy?
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, but also you have a different energy. Like, and also I had met 49 other people that in that moment.
You were swarmed that day. You had a lot of people.
Yeah, but the glasses work, man. I was like, hey, buddy, damn.
So you're taking over for Pauly, right? How was it? How was it interacting with her initially?
Okay, well, everybody on the cast was wonderful.
Yeah,
like no complaints about that.
Yeah,
she was so generous.
Mm-hmm.
You were incredible. Mark was great. And I never went onto that set feeling like, okay, I got to prove myself to these people because everybody was like, hey, welcome, come play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hoped it would work out, but it was only 3 episodes I was only supposed to do 3 episodes. So if it didn't work out, they would just write me out.
As a little trial balloon. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't difficult until it got announced. And then obviously, the people that know you are like, yeah, congratulations. But I think a lot of people at that time sort of not knowing what was happening with the show, not feeling like they were ready to give up somebody who had been there for 15 years, who had been in their life for 15 years.
Yeah.
I think for some people, it felt like losing a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it because they watched us, not me, they watched you guys and they fell in love with all of you. And so to feel like they were never going to see this person again, sometimes you get a little mad at the new girlfriend. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get a little mad at the new friend. And it wasn't like, oh God, my life is over. But I mean, I expected some resistance. I should have expected that some people would take it as a racial thing, and I didn't. And that was a little hard. That was a little hard because it wasn't, well, sometimes it was. Sometimes it was like, oh, this is the PC choice. You guys just want to be woke, which I was like, nobody's paying for that. And sometimes it was like really overt, like so not overt things, like, people talking about my hair, that I didn't look like a scientist.
Yeah.
And that is just frustrating because I don't know if they've ever seen a scientist, but there's so many of them. There's so many different ways to look. And I had not encountered something like that. So that was hard.
That's being thrown in the fire. I mean, that is how did you cope with that? Because I know that we didn't really discuss that a lot on set. Like you and I,
No.
we didn't. And I certainly saw that shit going on online and that sort of thing where people push back against the thing they don't know.
Yeah.
And when they push back against the thing they don't know, sometimes they go to the lowest common denominator, which in this case can be the way a person looks. It can be race. It can be, it can be these totally unfounded crap, right?
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with story. It has nothing to do with character. It has nothing to do with performance.
It had nothing to do with anything because sometimes they hadn't even seen me. Some of this stuff was coming before any of my episodes had come out.
How did you cope?
I gave my social media to a friend for when I knew that like big articles were dropping. And I stayed out of the comment section for a long time.
That's a move.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. I also talked to some people. Like I asked Wickersham about it because I knew that she had she'd
been through something.
Yeah, I knew that she had been through, I think more overtly, actually. I think maybe even a little louder. So I talked to her a little bit and that was pretty much it. I just kind of gave up control of that.
Yeah.
And I have a great therapist. I definitely don't get a punch card, but if you go to my therapist, I might get a few free sessions. Look at me trying to make a joke. I was on a joke. I was on a sketch team at the time. I was on an improv team, and I did a lot of that too.
And I gotta imagine. I mean, right before you started this job, or as you were starting this job, you got married.
I did.
And Patricia is incredible. I have to imagine that was kind of the bedrock, like the place that you go to say like, this thing happened, or this. She's just going through it with you, right?
I'm gonna take these earrings off. I'll tell you who really got me through it. Patricia got me through it, but also who really talked to me on set, and we didn't even necessarily talk about that, is Rocky Carroll.
Okay.
Because I went to Rocky very early on and I said, Rocky, you've been on the show for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he said, yep. And I'll leave when they turn the stage lights out on me. Yeah. And to hear that, because at the time he was the only, like I'll say it, he was the only other Black person on the show.
Sure.
And to hear someone else say like, this is good and you should, and I like being here and it's safe here, was enough to make me be like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason that I'm playing a scientist. It's because I do have a little bit more of a cerebral approach to life. You know what I mean? Sure. I am much more mind first than I am like heart first. Mm. And the things that do hit me like that, I think that episode, What Child Is This?
I remember that distinctly.
Yeah. Those are the ones that, those are the ones that like sort of like feel like you got the wind knocked out of you.
Yes.
And I won't say it's fun, but I will say I like the discovery. That's what I like about acting. I like discovering what I can do because I have a much more limited idea of what my range is.
And which is interesting to hear you say, because in that, I'll never forget that scene that we did together in that episode, because, we'd done a couple of episodes by then, but this was one that required Casey to really be hit by emotion when speaking about her father.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like I just kind of went into it going, okay, we'll see whatever happens. Sometimes tears happen, sometimes they don't, but so long as it's emotionally truthful, like this is going to be great. And I have a feeling, she's going to do one. So I felt in that moment, it was my job just to be there for you.
Yeah.
And whatever it is you needed. And I am telling you, take one, these tears were falling off of your face.
And I've never cried in a scene before.
It was intense, Diona. If you guys do yourself a treat and watch that episode, they were cascading. And I remember just internally going, oh gosh. And I went to our writer over there and I said, boy, we got a real one here. She knows her stuff. She knows she is a powerhouse.
Very your mouth to God's ears. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
I had done theater growing up. I had, gone to college, studied theater. I had studied at a conservatory for grad school.
Mm-hmm.
I had done Shakespeare, all kinds of stuff, scene study classes, other shows. And I have never cried in a scene before. Never.
And why? So, okay, first off,
mm-hmm.
You're really good at acting. You're good at doing acting. And to hear you say, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do that. And to hear you say, I've never done that before. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying like that's wrong in any capacity. I'm just saying that it's hard for me to reconcile as your friend. The dichotomy between that of like, I'm not sure. And then I'm telling you, this is one of the first scenes I really remember, doing with you that just hit me.
Yeah.
And it knocked my socks off. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You said that's the first time you've done that?
Hey, sorry about your socks, buddy.
You could be making a living just doing this. That's it. You're just the wet works come in and there you go.
Well, for me, like I said, I sometimes have a very limited idea of what I can do. And maybe that is a little bit sometimes where I'm like, I'm not going to go, to the audition. Mm-hmm. So I have to let go of that. NCIS was a very supportive set. It was a very good place to be. Michael Zinberg directed that. He's an actor's director, 100%. Mm-hmm. It also, both that and another memoir I'll talk about very briefly, from Turkey Trot.
Which I co-wrote
with Scott Williams. Not thinking, and I wrote a very emotional thing. Not for me. I wrote a very emotional monologue for a guest star and wrote very emotional things for Katrina Law, and she's great in that episode. But something happened on the set that day, which is you write the episode and we have meetings when you write and they kind of go over what the props and whatnot are going to be. But, there's not necessarily time to look at them all. And Katrina originally in that episode was supposed to have, because the whole thing about the episode, spoiler, if you haven't watched it, you're behind.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah. Her character is a hostage negotiator. And she is so moved by all the people whose lives she saved. Originally, she has a tattoo, like all up her ribs, of the 3 or 4 people who she could not talk down, the 3 or 4 people that she could not save. And for reasons, we had some continuity issues, and honestly, just the logistics of trying to get the shirt up. We changed it, and it was inscribed on her watch. And the initials had to get cleared with legal, and Scott had picked some initials, I don't know. One was supposed to be PP. And when we got the watch and they showed it to us for the first time, the initials in there were 2 that we had planned and then RR, which was my dad's initials. And he never got a chance to see me act. Mm. He died. I had done CBS Showcase.
Yeah.
And he got sick right before my audition for that. And so I put that off. I didn't go because he was sick. And I thought I was going to move back to, no, I don't want that. I thought I was going to move back to Detroit and take care of him. And he died before I got a chance to. I just come back to LA to grab my stuff. And he died. And after Showcase, it just everything just took off so fast. Mm-hmm. I got that first pilot, I got clipped. And then it was just I was just working so much.
Yeah.
And so that I had been asking to write a script for NCIS for so long. Like Frank Cardia came to me my first season and was like, "You're a writer. Do you want to write?" And I said no. And I said no because I didn't think I could do it. And when he left, right before he left, I said, "Okay, I would like to do a script." And I was pitching them, and they were saying no. And I was pitching them, and they were saying no. And finally, I pitched Turkey Trot to Scott Williams, and he said, "I love it. It's a good idea. Let's do it together." I had asked him if he would co-write with me. And it felt like in that moment, my dad knew that it felt like he was there with me in that moment. And it was like the big emotional scene. And it wasn't even supposed to be me. But those tears you see are real. And I don't want to make everything about my dad because the one in What Child Was This? It was about Casey's dad too. But I think there is something about like, even when I don't believe it, this is why I'm like, I don't want to just think about the fans that were like hurt in that moment. I want to think about the fans that are supportive, because I think the superpower that I have is the people around me and the people out there that support me, even the ones that don't know me. Because there is something really moving about realizing that you have support, even when you think you don't. When you're alone, you're not. None of us are alone. And that's been one of the best things I've learned about NCIS. I've got, friends like you. And I couldn't have asked for a better scene partner in that moment because you were just so baller.
There's a story I love that I want you to tell. And I think you know which one it is, because I'm staring at it right now.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Tell me about my eating habits. Tell me about what I eat for breakfast. Tell me.
Okay, so Brian, one day I came into work right before COVID, and I said, "Hey, what are you eating?" And you said, "I'm having my usual breakfast, a little veggie scramble, some eggs."
Yeah, and after my heart thing, my stroke thing, I started eating like just egg whites, right?
Yep.
And a lot of veggies and whatnot. So I said, I'm having a veggie scramble.
Yep.
Oh, it looks good.
And I said, "That looks really great." And I looked at it, and it had, spinach and zucchini and beans in it. And I said, "Beans? I've never had beans with eggs."
Like black beans, right?
Yeah, black beans.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, wow, the British do it." So, so I went up to, our chef, and I said, "Can I get the veggie scramble, and can I get some beans?" And they said, "We don't have any beans." And I said, "Huh." And Brian must have bought his own beans. That's nice. And so the next week, I went up and I asked for beans just to see if there was any of yours left. They said no. Oh. And so then I started bringing my own beans. I would bring like this little Ziploc, and it was real gross.
Of like canned beans?
Wet, canned, wet, unseasoned beans. And be like, "Can you put these in my eggs?" And they'd be like, "Unsanitary, but okay."
As one does.
And this went on for 2 years. Okay. Me occasionally asking for beans and occasionally just bringing my wet bag of beans.
Wet bag of beans.
One day I went to you and I said, "Quick question," because they look at me real weird when I ask for this. "How are you getting beans?" And you said, "I'm not eating beans." And I said, "What? In your veggie scramble, how are you getting beans?" And
I said, "Diona, those are black olives." And and then you just went like this.
Yeah. That went on for, I think that went, because the pandemic was in 2020. This went on for 4 years.
Yes.
I'm not kidding. This went on
wet,
for
soggy
4 years.
beanbag coming in.
And it was gross. Sometimes they were warm and they shouldn't have been, you know what I mean? Like from me.
You got sick a lot.
I did.
And the fermentation was probably not good in your car.
Awful.
And so finally when you told me.
Now wrap this into something real meaningful.
So when you told me, I've been bringing my own black beans every day to work for 3 years.
Yeah. 4.
4 years. And I looked at you and I just went, "Why would you do that?" And I'm like, "You never asked me about that." And you're like, "No, I just figured like Brian's industrious. He would bring his own beans to a place."
You seem like a bean.
Why wouldn't he? He just has a little thing of beans in his refrigerator.
You seem like a BYOB person.
Bring your own beans.
Bring your own beans. Bring your own beans.
That's not the case.
No, it's not the case.
But oh my gosh, that.
You can't get through this, can you? Now, make something heartfelt.
Okay.
Make something fartfelt about this.
It's at that moment I realized this person is going to be my person on set. This person is going to be the other half.
Wait, hold on. You know what? I will say this. Hold on, because I'm going back to the difficulty. Because when I would have difficult stuff on set, I would go to you.
Yeah.
And I try not to do it too much because who wants to be the person who's always complaining? Who wants to be the burden? But you've always been like a really listening ear. And I have found that even occasionally when I've accidentally mentioned something happens, like shit gets done. Like,
Yeah.
And you've been a really good friend. You really have been.
So I'm realizing that actually what we haven't done for either of these interviews, we haven't done any Probies questions.
Oh, Probies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Eddie. You're the best.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. Okay,
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
got
Eddie.
it. All right. You ready?
Yes.
This is a question for you.
Ooh.
Here's a question from David and Gina for the premiere podcast episode. That's great.
No, wait.
That's really nice. We were just talking about David and Gina.
The showrunners of NCIS Origins and also our former showrunner writers.
I love those guys,
I love them so much.
They're the best.
They are. Yeah.
Over here at NCIS Origins, we're curious about the origin stories of Jimmy and Casey. What do you think? We know we've got thoughts. We're curious if they could do origin stories of Jimmy and Casey.
Okay. I'm sorry. Of course that made me tear up. I know, because it's just like nice to know our family's still out there. You know what I mean?
Man.
Okay. Origin stories of Jimmy and Casey. Well, where's Jimmy from?
Jimmy's from Baltimore.
Thank you. Casey's from New York, even though I tried to get Casey from Detroit. I think that if we did like NCIS babies, I think Casey, one day when she was a kid, she found some other kid like magnifying ants. Yeah. And she was like, hey, that's not nice. And like stopped the kid, but then showed the kid how cool it was to look at other stuff through a magnifying glass.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I think Jimmy like fell backwards into this in a way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, well, it's funny because 23 years ago, we saw his first day of work with Dr. Mallard, you know, and he was scared, didn't know what he was doing, all that sort of thing. I think he found himself there because he probably wanted to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And I think he also was uncertain and unsure of himself and therefore became a medical tech. Yeah. Because that's adjacent and that's something that maybe one day I can move into that. Yeah. And over the course of all the seasons, he finally did.
That's great. I love that. I'll do one. Okay.
All right.
This is from, I can't believe this is happening. I'm not even going to make it through this. This is from Emily Wickersham. Okay. And she says, she shares her favorite memory first. And she says, my favorite memory would probably be the last scene we saw with Bishop and Torres as Bishop says goodbye and heads out to the next adventure. We don't know where she's going or what she's doing, but we know it's time for her to move on. And she just remembers the overlapping feeling of what was happening in the scene in real life. And the memory she has from the show that will always stick out for me, that's that one for her. And my favorite guy, David North, was there. He's the one who just made me cry with the question. Thank you, David and Gina. He wrote the episode. It was all bittersweet. But on the question front, do you think Casey and Jimmy go out and do karaoke together? And if yes, what are their go-to karaoke songs?
Of course we do karaoke together. How could we not do karaoke?
I mean, it's illegal if we don't. It's literally against the Navy rules.
No, when you have a lab coat crew like we do.
Yeah.
You got to go represent at the karaoke bar. You have to do it.
Got to go hard.
And I got to say, Jimmy's thrown down with Bust a Move every time.
Oh my God.
He's doing it.
Oh my gosh.
You can't be stopped. You can only hope to contain.
It's not only canon, it's headcanon. So that's exactly what I pictured for you. And and it is canon actually in the show that Casey sings Islands in the Stream. And I like that being a duet between the two of us as friends. You can just picture it.
You can just picture it, okay?
Yeah.
Because we look so similar to Dolly and
Dolly.
Yes, Dolly. Dolly right here. Oh, man. Okay, so next time at karaoke.
Yeah.
We're just going to do our usual.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Thank you so much to David, Gina, Emily. You guys are our first probies on this show. I tell you what, we get to talk about all this stuff and celebrate all of these things. And I mean, 23 years of this. I mean, that's like 10 lifetimes in Hollywood terms, you know, in television terms. So the fact that we get to do this every week now, you excited?
No, I'm thrilled.
I'm thrilled as well.
I feel like I just got beans in my breakfast.
All right. Everybody, thank you for listening to the inaugural episode of NCIS Partners and Probies. You're going to be able to listen to us every single week. Bring your bag of beans because we are coming. The Lab Coat Crew is going to be here every single week. You can listen to us on Spotify, Audacity, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're going to have the ending just be that smooth every single week.
Don't look at me. I'm a guest.
You're the guest. That's true. Give us a...
Okay, fine. Yes, okay, fine.
All right, come on. Hold on. Wait, no, no, you're...
Okay,
hold on 1 second. Here we go. Thank you so much for watching the inaugural episode of NCIS Partners and Probies. I'm Brian Dietzen.
And I'm Diona Reasonover.
You can catch us each and every week on Spotify, Audacity, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bring your wet bean bag. Follow and listen to NCIS Partners and Probies on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.